what I want to do this time around is to set us the challenge of trying to come close to matching those colors. In other words, we're not so concerned. Well, we're concerned, but it's not just about the surface texture. It is about, making the color as right as we can make it. So in other words, in this case, what we're going to do is drain the colors out of these three key yellows, oranges, whatever. So the first thing I want to do is drain the yellow. How do we drain yellow? We add the complementary, and the complementary of yellow is purple. So let's make a little purple maybe down in the corner here. Get a little bit of blue here. Hopefully you can just see that. I just want to keep it out of the way. And a tiny little bit of red in there. Now, as I say, I'm not getting too concerned about value at the minute, but what I'm doing is just going to add a tiny wee bit of white over in it, simply because it's easier to see, so that's the only reason I'm just giving that a wee bit of a nip up, because that's a little bit blue, so I would like just to lean it a little bit more into the reddish end. Okay, so we'll use that, I think. And then let's scoop a little bit. I'll take my yellow from here because I'm running out of it there. A little yellow there, little bit, you can see on my palette, tiny bit. I never feel to stress how little it takes to change a color. We underestimate someone. And look what's happening. We're going green here. Look what we've got there. We've got, all of these variations across that way and across that way. And if you look at our sample and you look at our source there, you'll see that already we can estimate very quickly where we could place those. So what we've done this time is prepare our palette rather than working individually, little bit by little bit, little sample. So now what we're going to do is use this palette to create and apply it to an actual the painting of the flower. The next question is, think about the temperature of that color, the color that we've just made. So if I was looking at that on my wheel, and if someone said you've got to move that over that way, which way would you go? So if I'm in amongst the oranges, which way would it go? And I think I'm going towards the yellow-green side, it's a more of a greeny tone, a cooler tone than that. So what I'll do is I'll cool that down with a tiny little bit of blue in there. So we'll add blue. However, remember that if I was to take a lump of blue like that and stick it in there to my mix, it's going to get darker because obviously that blue there is really dark. That has just been lightened. So what I need to do is make sure that I make a blue which is something similar in brightness to that. So in other words, take a blue, add a little bit of white to it. And again, it's not totally critical at this stage, because some people get very disheartened and go, oh, it's not exactly the brightness. But if you can get closer to the brightness rather than sticking the dark color in, that's the main thing. It makes life easier when the mixing happens. So there's a tiny little bit. So we're only adding bits at a time because otherwise it's quite easy to overdo things. And I can see there how that's changing it. Okay, we're now moving it. We've cooled it down. And let's see where we are. Look at that. I'm really quite fairly happy with that. I'm getting very, very close. We're going to drain that out a little bit more. So we're thinking when I need to drain it out, we can work on that. But we can adjust these. But it's a very quick way of getting establish some sort of color harmony. Now we're going back up. I'm going back up to these colors that I had over this side. So because there's similarities in the color going on this side. Look. So there's that. I'll just put them in simple blocks. You can see the difference going on there. Blend that up there. And then we get a slightly lighter version up in here, I think. So it's lighter, but it's warmer. So when it's lighter than that, but it's warmer than what's going on in the lemon, if you like, up near the top here, okay? We have to get right down to some of the basics again of color mixing and how color behaves. So this is, I think,
at least as challenging as the last series, if not more.
Complementary color of green is red. Now we've got, maybe a slightly bluey green, which might mean an orange red. So there's blue green, there's red orange, there's green, there's red. So a reddish color with maybe a little bit of yellow in it. Okay, so you can see that we're like what do you call them, like chefs. We have a wee bit of leeway of the spices we put in there. So it's more of a red end of things. So there we go. I'm just using this yellow, a little bit of red in there. So it's a rusty color. Of course, look at it. It's darker than my mixed color. So I need to try and lift it a little bit to come up to similar, a bit more similar, I should say, to the brightness of that one before I make the jump across. So, that's a wee bit better there. Again, a wee bit of leeway, There's a tiny wee bit I'm going in now. And I'm just stirring it in. I'm going to tiny bit by tiny bit. Hopefully you can maybe even see on that, although I'm using this grey palette, which is very useful because the white doesn't distract you. So what I'll do here is I'll just take and do it on a little swatch of card. Again, just put that on the color there and get their second one. Look at what we've got there. So we're getting that grayness. What we'd like to do is just to show you, I can reach over here, to have a look at the original and how that I have managed to sample colors that are close in reference. That's maybe a wee bit light there, but remember I only sample little fragments of it. Bring it over to the other side, and hopefully you can see that where the lines went in the little diagram, target colors where I met them there and where I met these colors. But look at the sort of harmony we have here.
And do your very best, but the main thing, as I say, is learning to think when we paint. This is a great opportunity in lockdown to be on our own, if you like. And then when we're on our own, we can get time to think about what we do.